Hello and welcome. I'm Carol DeChaine, your intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters, Marconics multidimensional energy practitioner, and I am also your life coach. So today I'm going to be looking at where do I go from here? And sometimes we have things happen and we don't quite know which direction to go next. There's a fork in the road, which always reminds me of the Muppet movie where there's actual fork that they see in the road and they have to decide, oh, it's a fork in the road. And anyway, so where do you go? How do you decide? Where do I go from here? Especially if you're facing a divorce and you don't know which way to go after that. Someone dies and you're going, oh my God, where do I go from here? Or maybe you're just out of college and you're going, I don't really have a direction now. Maybe you took a major that doesn't lead you anywhere, or you just didn't have that help to figure out where you're headed next. Where do you go from here? If you've asked yourself that question, then you also know that if you're asking the universe, you'll get an answer and sometimes multiple answers because there is no one way that you can go. So make sure that if you meditate or you pray about it and you go, where do I go from here? What's next? What do I do? How do I do this? How do I know which job to take? How do I know where to live if I'm getting kicked out of my house because of the divorce? What do I do? Where do I go from here? Well, first you have to look at yourself emotionally. Where are you there? Are you okay? Do you feel hurt and stressed and anxious? And which the hurt, stressed, and anxious, well, the anxious is kind of normal when you're wondering where to go from here, but the hurt isn't. And that's from maybe a divorce or somebody dies. There's Look at those emotions, see where you're at, see if they're holding you back from moving forward. Because maybe you don't want to go anywhere from there. Maybe you want to go in a hole and hide for a while and recuperate and heal from something that's happened. And that's okay. But realize that at some point, when you say, where do I go from here? You'll be willing to move forward. And when you're willing to move forward and you say, where do I go from here? Pay attention to the universe because it will tell you. You'll get opportunities that show up. You'll get ideas that come to you. You'll have people saying things that you'll go, why did they tell me that? You'll have somebody on an advertisement on TV or even an advertisement on Facebook that you're scrolling past going, I don't care about that. Wait, what was that? And you'll read it even if you don't click on it. It'll go, oh, that's interesting. And then maybe you'll think about it later and go, that's the third time I've seen something about that. Maybe I'll check into that. Because sometimes we need to be whacked upside the head to be able to know how many confirmations do I want. I know I've posted something on social media with Miss Piggy, talking back to the Muppets again, and she says on there, I promise if I just need one validation so I'll know that the direction I'm taking is right. Or it's something similar to that. And then she says that's me. And then it says also me. And it says, maybe give me 10 more validations just so I'm really sure. Because sometimes you're just not sure where you're headed. You don't have a game plan. You don't have a map or a plan on what am I doing next. And maybe you had some ideas, but maybe they don't feel right. So check in, first of all, with how your emotions are, and then check in with when those opportunities present themselves. And you go, so how do I feel about that? Does it feel like I should move forward, or does it feel like, ugh? And why does it feel like, if it's really absolutely a no way in heck am I ever doing that, let it go. Don't do it. But sometimes things come to you that are out of our comfort zone. Not maybe this much, maybe only this much or this much. And we go, that sounds fascinating. But you might not think so on the first hearing. So you might want to ask for a give me 3 validations if this is the direction that's a really good choice for me. So where am I supposed to go from here? Show me validations. But don't keep asking for them after the third or fourth time. I know that I actually had a car accident all by myself where I didn't swing wide enough to get into a spot in that was just outside. Let's see, I had 2 spots, one covered, one not covered, at a carport where I lived, and I never parked in the uncovered one. And I thought, I'm going to run in, run out. I'll just park here for a second because there was no street parking. I never parked there. I didn't swing wide enough, and I totally hit the passenger side when I turned in right here, and it was like bang, and I went, oh, why did that happen? And I was all bent out of shape and upset and everything else, and I left it there for a minute, went and got the the dog and took the dog for a walk so that I could just start swearing and clomping around back there. And the dog was looking at me going, I don't know what your problem is. Because I didn't know why that happened. But it turned out it was a validation that I had asked for. But I was ignoring all the validations or not acknowledging them to know where I was going. And finally, it was like, okay, I know this is a validation in a way for me. It made sense, but I had to realize it. And I said, okay, next time, let's not make it quite so literal in that, don't like have something fall on my head. Don't have it be where I get hit or I hit the car. Just give me something a little more figurative where it's not so specific and I'm, like physically, all of a sudden I get whacked upside the head or something happens and it's like, yeah, let's not do it that much. I promise I'll pay more attention. So sometimes those validations are huge and they're physical and they're real, and other times they're just minimal. And sometimes it's just somebody saying, "Hey, why have you ever thought of this?" or "What about that?" And it's all of a sudden something you're going, "Oh." So maybe after divorce, especially if you don't have children, you have your friends or your parents where you were originally from say, "Hey, why don't you move back home?" And you're going, "Oh, no, I couldn't do that." And then somebody else says it to you and somebody else says it to you and you're going, "Huh. Well, I'm not going to move in with my parents, but huh, maybe that's a good choice. Let me look into that and see if that's where I should go. Maybe it's physically, I should move myself. Maybe it's emotionally, I should change up what I'm doing. Where do I go from here can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. So pay attention. When you ask that question, you will get answers. So make sure you're aware of what's going on. It won't necessarily be a still small voice inside your head or God going, here's your next step. But it is sometimes God saying, here's your next step. The universe giving it to you on a silver platter, going, hey, over here, pay attention. This is it. And you may go, oh, or not even see it. You may have blinders on so you don't see that step. Or you might go, oh, well. And it's like, hey, this is it. You asked for this. Oh, okay, fine. And then the opportunity is gone. Just feel when you are presented with those opportunities when you ask, is this right for me? And if it's a little out of your comfort zone, make sure that you're aware of that and go, all right, let me really think this through. What do I do here? Where do I go from here? It's a good question. It's one that many of us have asked, especially during more difficult times in our lives when a big transition happens. You can always go to a life coach or to a therapist if it's too deep of a question for you, if it's something you have to work through to get to. But sometimes it's just allowing yourself to connect more to your emotions, to connect more to what you want, and to see what shows up in the universe. Once you ask, don't forget to ask for your next steps. Thank you for joining me here today. Again, my name is Carol DeChaine, and I am an intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters, which you can find out more about on my website, connecttojoy.com. That's connect, the number two, joy.com. And if you like what you hear, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell notification so you know the next time the video is posted. And if you want to hear more, you can not only go back over a number of years of twice a year of postings, but you can also go to my podcast, which is longer, and those are all on my website and also on pretty much most podcast channels. It's also called Connect to Joy. And you can follow me on Instagram, which is also, you guessed it, Connect to Joy. Until next time, please know that you are already enough to have the joyful, limitless life that you desire.